So homework 14 is on computational thinking. So this is very similar to questions that we will get in the exam, where you have code that you've got to read and understand, spot variables, and explain the function that's being carried out by all that code. So there's a little bit of information about iteration type of different types of loops. We have two types of loops that we eventually have to know about, which is a fixed loop, and it runs for a set specific number of times, and we also have a conditional loop that runs until a specific condition is met or a condition fails and it can stop. So we've got three separate pieces of code here really. The first three lines of code are a conditional loop that involves validation to enter the year a person's born until the length of it is 4 characters in length, basically. Number 4, or line 4 rather, is a calculation being carried out to work out the age that person is by carrying out a simple subtraction. And then lines 5 to 9 are a selection statement. They're an if statement to carry out different pieces of code, again depending on specific conditions being met. So if the person's age this year is over 30, then they get one message. Otherwise, it sends them another message. And if you look on line 8, the output has another calculation there, so you should be able to work out what age would actually trigger that message. So question 1 is about spotting which variables are in use and the types of those variables. So I'll give you hints. Anytime there's an input, there is a variable type. Now there actually only are one input in this. And whenever we're setting the value of something, there's also a variable type there. Now number 2 is actually going to draw the flowchart diagram for the problem. So remember that we only have a few symbols. So we have the start and end, which should be inside a bubble. We have a parallelogram for inputs. We have the diamond for decisions. Now remember, we can only have 2 decisions happening. And we also have just a standard rectangle for any simple process. For example, setting the value of something based on a calculation. Question 3 is asking about the iteration type and the purpose of the loop. Now, there's an until statement there, which means that it's a conditional loop, because we can't say how many times that loop would execute, and all validation uses conditional loops. Now, the purpose of that loop is to carry out validation to make sure the user can't enter a number that's not 4 characters in length. Now the function in line 3, which they covered functions yet, but there's a little bit of information on them in the little box at the top, and basically they receive inputs and they return a value, and the function in line 3 is to check the length of the text to make sure it's 4 characters in length. Number 5, explain what's happening in line 4. Hopefully that's simple and straightforward enough. It's a calculation taking place using the variable year born, subtracting it from 2016 to work out what the current age of the person is. Number 6, again, we've already kind of covered that. Purpose of the construct from lines 5 to 9. Now 5 to 9 is a selection statement that carries out one piece of code if a specific condition is met, and another output if the condition's not met. In line 8 for question 7, explain the arithmetic carried out. Well, it's 31 minus age this year. So if you think about the age the person needs to be in order to qualify for this cheaper car insurance, then you should hopefully be able to work that one out. And number 8 is a question that's quite regular. What it's saying is that a person enters 894 followed by 1984, and to basically explain what happens in the program. So we think at line 2, the user enters 984. In line 3, code checks to see if this input, the 894, is 4 characters in length, and it's not. So the loop executes again when the user enters 1984. It checks the condition again on line 3 to see if it's met, and it is, which means the loop stops executing because the condition's been met, and it carries on to line 4 where the calculation's carried out, which you should explain what calculation's carried out, what the result is, and then you should explain which line is executed from the selection statement in lines 5 to 9 as part of this answer. So I'll leave you to explain the rest of the code that's happening there, or what's happening with the rest of the code.